what actually goes in the claim funds bucket versus admin fees, and why does it really matter? This is a question that does come up a little bit, and so I want to break it down a little bit more in today's Benefits Barbecue. So I think a great demonstration of this is going to be comparing it to, as y'all have probably guessed with me, seasonings for smoking meats. And I've got up here two lists that I commonly look at when I'm considering smoking chicken or beef. Now, reality is you could probably throw either seasoning on either one, and you're still going to get some food, right? It's still going to be food no matter what you did. Is it going to be the best food though? That's where I think having a good game plan about what goes in what buckets makes a big difference. You see up here with chicken, I'm typically looking at a little bit more of the sweeter flavorings, a little bit more of those savory flavors. I think work really well with chicken, like some of the herbs. Looking at sugar, perhaps, because chicken is a quick cook usually, so sugar works really well on the grill with chicken, honestly. That's typically what I'm thinking about with chicken. Beef is a bit more of those base flavors, though. We have onion, we have garlic, we have mustard seed, salt, pepper, obviously, everybody likes on anything. Chilies, I think, can work really, really well with beef if you know what you're doing. Don't overpower it, but it can work, right? Again, could you just literally flip this and deliver a great meal? Yes, absolutely. I think that's doable. But is your likelihood of getting a great meal better if you follow kind of a classification system for what works really well with what? I think it does. And same thing when we're looking over at self-funded plans, when you're considering what goes in your claim fund versus what goes in your admin fund. Okay, now at the end of the day, is it still your business's wallet that's paying every one of these claims? Yeah, it is. It's coming out of the bank account, going out either way, right? But knowing the difference between what you're paying and where can make your plan a lot more attractive if we need to shop you for new stop loss carriers and new vendors, right? Some things I typically think of when I'm looking at the claim fund, I think that needs to be anytime that a member has directly encountered a medical professional, a medical testing service, a pharmacy encounter of some sort. That's what we want the claim fund to pay. And that should be the vast majority of your expenses on a self-funded plan. That should be the majority of the money you're spending. And that makes sense, right? If we're paying too much money in the admin category, then there's not going to be enough over here to actually help the members get medical care, right? Things I think typically belong in the admin fees bucket are going to be things like your vendor fees. That's going to include your third-party administrator, your pharmacy benefit manager. If you have just all sorts of those people that are out there helping you make this plan happen. Anybody that's getting paid on a per employee per month basis, I would say is almost automatically an admin fee. Anyone who's receiving commissions from your account, that's going to belong in the admin fees. And anything that deals with network access, I think goes over here as well. Now, why does this matter? That's the really, really big question, right? This matters because if you try to look at new stop loss insurance, if you're looking at new third-party administrators, and you say, hey, here's all the data on my group, here's how much we spent last year on claims, here's our breakout for admin fees over here, and the numbers are intermingled with each other, it can present a different narrative than what your group actually has going on. In a real life example that we've seen here, network access fees, we had one client with a large national carrier that was based out of one state, but had employees in multiple states. They paid, and it was about $40 a month for their network access fees. That's already a pretty high network access fee, especially when some of my favorites only charge us like $8 or $9 a month. $40 is a big jump, right? So they're paying $40 a month per employee and per covered dependent to be able to have the honor of using the price schedule that is usually about 300% time or 300% of Medicare charges. Whole different video for a different day though. So they're paying the $40 per employee per month, and every time a member went to a provider that was not in their central headquarters state, and again, this is a multi-state employer, they were getting charged an extra network access fee every single time their people went out of network because it wasn't the big national carriers, Ohio network in this case, right? So what that does is every time you have an encounter over in this bucket, it inflated the cost, and it was a pretty big expense. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but that extra expense they were paying every single time somebody went out of network which was literally their homes for a lot of them, right? That not everybody works at the main headquarters, just like your business probably has the same setup. They were getting charged extra. So when we took this claim fund out to new stop loss carriers, to new TPAs, and saying, hey, this is what we're dealing with, what do you think we can do here? We had to walk through that narrative that we discovered and said, hey, I know that it says, I'm just going to make up a number. It says they spent $1 million on, actually, it was about $3 million on medical claims last year. But we think actually out of that, only about $270,000 of it, or $2.7 million out of that $3 million spend was actually medical claims, and we believe that 300,000 of it was actually these network access fees that were being improperly classified. Now that carrier likes to fight about transparency. We don't install them anywhere really, but that was a real life example we saw there. And so, to a stop loss carrier looking at a claim fund that spends $3 million a year is a lot different than $2.7 million a year, right? Because I'm going to have to charge you more insurance premium to cover bigger amounts. And once we removed that out of there, it actually lowered their prices by about 8% by being able to show that difference in the medical spend and saying, hey, we know this goes over here. It's going to be classified correctly moving forward. And we're just not going to be using a network that does this anymore anyway. It helped us lower that spend by a lot. So that's something to consider here as you're looking through and saying, okay, well, this is good to know, but why does it really matter? It's going to matter because when you have to shop in the future, and even if you're renewing with your same vendor over and over, if you're paying for stop loss coverage on things that are admin fees over here, then you're paying a premium that you really shouldn't be encountering. If you're not having breakdowns like this with your broker, if you don't believe that your broker is being a watchdog and a bulldog for you, maybe it's time we should talk.